Hello and welcome to Flight Sim Alaska. I'm Dave, the armchair bush pilot. Today we are in Homer, Alaska, just southwest of Anchorage, and we're going to head west towards McNeil Cove to check out some seagulls? Hang on a second. Let me get in the air and I'll come back. Alright, so here we are flying out of Homer, off to our right here. There's all these tall buildings. That's absolute nonsense. I think I've complained a few times in the sim that there's some weird things going on, and a recent patch gave us tall buildings in places where they don't really belong. So I just wanted to point that out. Off to our left here, no longer in view, is a Homer spit behind us, and we're going to do that in a later video. Let's see, what else can we say about this? So we're flying over Kachemak Bay right now, and it's kind of 5 o'clock in the morning during the summertime. This is the kind of flight you'd be likely to do in, like, say, mid to late July, and the reason is because we're heading to McNeil Cove. Now, one of the things McNeil Cove is world famous for, and it's not as famous as some of the other places, is bear viewing. It's one of the premier bear viewing spots in the state. We're talking brown bears, grizzly bears. So what happens is in mid to late July or so, you get these brown bears that'll come over there, and they will be taking the salmon. Now, the area that we're going, you may never have heard of it. Maybe you've heard of the Brooks Falls, but these are the McNeil Falls, and they're about the same. They're these short falls where you see the salmon jumping over and the bears snatching the salmon out of the air there. I think a lot of times when you see pictures of that sort of activity, it's really from Brooks Falls, but McNeil Falls is quite as scenic, actually. So that's where we're headed. The reason that I find it weird is because the flight simulator does all these really cool things, and one of the things that it does that we haven't done yet is that it's got wildlife viewing. And in Alaska, it's pretty much a mix of seagulls and grizzly bears. And for some reason, McNeil Cove was selected to have some wildlife viewing, but that wildlife viewing is seagulls as opposed to grizzly bears. Now, there is an authentic grizzly bear viewing spot that does get shown up in the flight simulator, and that'll be for a later video, but for right now we're going to head to McNeil, and part of the deal is we're going to head past Mount Augustine volcano and talk about that a little bit. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Again, we're in Kachemak Bay, off to our left here to our south. This is the community of Seldovia. It's kind of back in that cove, in that bay there. On the other side of this ridge, there's another bay that kind of goes into there. That's where the community of Port Graham is. And then on the other side, kind of at the foot of this mountain, just over there, is the community of Nanwalek, or formerly known as English Bay. And anybody who's into the flight simulator probably knows about that community because it's one of the hand-modeled airports that's offered with a very, even the most base package. And also it's one of the places that it's got bush landing challenges. And I haven't actually done the bush landing challenge for Nanwalek, and I will do Nanwalek specifically in a future video. But I want to talk about the people and the history more than I do the aviation parts of it. So again, we're flying over Cook Inlet here. I am flying in an aircraft I'm not 100% comfortable with, but it's fast, so that's why I've got it. Well, it's faster than, say, X-Cub, for example. This here is Iliamna volcano, and there is Mount Redoubt volcano, both active volcanoes. I think in a future video we're probably going to do specific fly-arounds and talk about those. I'm not sure how I want to do that. I kind of want to do them both at the same time, and I don't know, we'll see. But we'll do those ones later. So that's what I wanted to say about this right now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you here, and we're going to zoom up to this volcano, and we'll come back when we're a little closer and talk about it. Now that our volcanoes come into view here, this is Mount Augustine volcano in Kamishak Bay at the southern end of Cook Inlet there in south central Alaska. This volcano is an active volcano like so many in the area. Again, this is part of that Aleutian chain of volcanoes, which includes the Mount Iliamna Redoubt and Spur to our north, and some of our volcanoes to our south here, including that Aniakchak volcano we flew into the crater of in a previous episode. This volcano is about 4,100 feet tall. It's on an island about 32 square miles. And the last time it erupted was in 2006. And I don't remember it being a particularly spectacular eruption. It was disruptive largely because a lot of the activity happened at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were getting these notifications on our phone, sort of emergency services types of sirens saying, eruption happening or maybe imminent, I don't know. And I don't think we ever saw any ash. I was in Wasilla at the time in the same house I'm in right now. Before that, there was an eruption in 1985 that did cause a little bit more disruption, but I genuinely have no memory of it. I was probably about 8 at the time, so it's not, I don't remember that. And in the last, let's say, 150 years, it's erupted a handful of times. And I feel like, as I fly past these volcanoes and we talk about them, and I sort of dredge back to the last 40 years and my memory of various and sundry eruptions, it feels like we haven't had one in like 15 years. And when I was younger, they were pretty routine. One every few years you should get something that was rumbling or disruptive. So that's a little alarming. I mean, it's 2020 and we haven't had an eruption in 15 years. It seems like we might be due. But I don't really want to jinx that either. So I've flown through here once in the sim, exactly once. I kind of hoped to record that, but it got a little weird at the end, and I didn't feel like it was good content to share, so here I am re-recording it. I never did find the seagulls over here. I'm in a larger aircraft because it's faster. It shaved about half an hour off the tour, which you guys probably wouldn't even know that because I'd be slicing it up, but it saves me a whole lot of time in re-recording. So again, we're in Kamishak Bay, and we're headed towards McNeil Cove, which is more or less directly in front of us. And further south here is a little bay called the Akamuarvik. And then all through here is different bits of state and federal land, like sanctuaries and things like this. Where we're headed is actually the McNeil River State Game Sanctuary, and that McNeil Falls, which is renowned for its bear viewing. And it is a place you can get to, and I'll explain all that here in just a second. These are the Aleutian Mountains here, and then here, although north here there's sort of a sub-range called the Chigmit Range, but it's still part of the Aleutian Range, which is, again, I've said this I think in almost every video we've flown through here, from up north, just north, and well, I guess southwest of Anchorage a little bit, and then just extends 1,500 miles south to the tip of the Aleutian chain, and it's full of volcanoes, just chock full of volcanoes. So let's see, Katmai National Park is kind of off in this direction. To the north of us is the McNeil River State Game Refuge, and then kind of on the other side here, you can almost see it is Iliamna Lake, and we're going to do that in a future video as well. I'm going to do a lot of Alaska in future videos. But this is fairly remote. You can get here, as I think I said. This is a popular bear viewing destination, but it is not a place that's necessarily easy to get to. It's easy in the sense that you can definitely hire somebody to fly you out here via air taxi. There's at least 15 different operators that will take you out here in 4 or 6 passenger, not engine, it's usually one engine, passenger aircraft, usually float planes, although I suspect that 1 or 2 of those carriers have amphibious planes of some sort. So that price tag is pretty spendy. I couldn't find a solid price tag. These air taxis tend to vary a lot in this kind of time of year, and volume and fuel costs and all that kind of good jazz, but a number I found that's probably ballparky is about $800 a person to get flown out here. Now there's other lodges and stuff in the area. Back in Kachemak Bay there's a ton of lodges you can stay at, and those guys offer flight seeing opportunities and air taxi opportunities. There's lodges along this side as well, and they offer the same kinds of things. And there's also a campground here, and so you could, I think, camp here for up to 4 days. Now, in order to come out here, you actually have to win a lottery, and so you apply with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and that lottery costs you $30 to enter. Now, if you win that lottery, you are going to pay, if you're from out of state, you're going to pay either $530 or about $260 to actually come out here and do the tour and do the sightseeing and check out the bears, do bear viewing. In state, it's a lot cheaper. It's more like $225 or $112 to come and do that. So it's a little bit more affordable. But even then, you're expending hundreds of dollars to get out here in any case. And this is a really popular destination for photographers. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's, again, picture the bear on top of the short waterfall with salmon jumping over. That is what we're headed to go check out. Is that, and I did see it. The falls do render in. The imagery in this area is pretty good. If you go on Google Maps or Bing Maps, this area is pretty good, and then it gets kind of crummy not too far up that direction. So we are heading towards the McNeil River, which kind of comes through this southerly pass here. And this river here, let's see if I can find the name for that. I didn't actually write it down. Looks like that's Paint River. There's a bunch of little rivers and stuff there. It's a lot of rivers through here. So again, you get a ton of bears through here. Great bear viewing. Salmon run up here. I couldn't actually find the species of salmon that we see, but based on the timing, we're talking like mid to late July. It's almost certainly sockeye or red salmon. That's a really common species in this area. I wouldn't be surprised that there's probably also Chinook or king salmon in this area as well, and probably also pinks, chums, and cohos, pinks, chums, cohos, yeah, coho silver, and those are pretty common throughout this region. Depending upon which river system you're in, you don't always have all 5 species available. But to the bears, they don't really care that much. People tend to be a little pickier, I think. So let's see here. Man, this is just really pretty. I came through here during early morning because I wanted to sort of show off the imagery and how the simulator is really does a spectacular job of showing off what Alaska looks like. And I did, particularly during like the sort of midnight sun types of hours. We took off at about 5:20 a.m. in the simulator, and I think I set the day to about July 15th. So this is kind of what it looks like. And the sun never really sets. I mean, it sets in this area in the summertime in June and so on, but it just kind of hovers around the northern horizon there. And I'll have some stuff to say about all that good jazz in future videos. I think maybe I don't want to talk about it just now. So again, I think I mentioned they do take aircraft out here that are equipped with pontoons. That's how you get about. There's no landing strip out here, so we're not going to land this aircraft. We're just going to kind of come check out the falls and then zip back around and head out. I couldn't quite figure out where they actually land the aircraft. I don't know if it's in McNeil Cove or where. I didn't see like a dock or anything like that in the aerial imagery, and I certainly couldn't find it on the Alaska Department of Fish and Game website, although they did have a good map of the campsite. And I will say that when you win the lottery, you come out here, there's definitely rules you have to follow, and one of them is something like you have to be here by 9 a.m. The day that your permit starts, and I think your permit can go up to 4 days long. And I am not an expert in this permit. I do know it's popular. It's popular for viewing people, people taking pictures of bears. And so I don't know that it's necessarily guaranteed that you could even get that lottery ticket. So I think it's tough, if you're coming out from out of state. This might be a really, really hard thing to come and do. It's kind of would end up being a bit of a destination deal. But if you're able to get that lottery and then kind of plan your vacation around this, that'd be pretty spectacular, I think. And I don't remember if this is the one that actually has like a boardwalk that you kind of stand above the bears where you can take your pictures. Again, there's like 3 or 4 bear viewing areas, and there's one north of us that we're going to do specifically because that one has bears in the game too. Now, somewhere through here, the sim, I should say, it's not really a game, is some seagulls. Now, I don't know how that works. I think you have to be pretty low for them to pop in. And I feel like I'm already about as low as I'm comfortable going. Let's get down to about 15. Let's go down to 1,000 feet. I think we can make that fly. Pun intended. Let's see. There we go. So this aircraft I'm not particularly comfortable with, but like I said, it's a little faster. But this one, I don't know if you saw in the cutscene there that I did, me flying around Lower Cook Inlet. This particular aircraft is actually a common sight flying out of Merrill Field. I think this particular type of aircraft is a common commuter airplane. And Merrill Field, if you don't know, is sort of the major general aviation airport in Anchorage. Anchorage having Ted Stevens International Airport, which is where your commercial jetliners come in, and then Lake Hood, which actually we should do Lake Hood one of these days. That'd be pretty neat. It's one of the busiest float plane airports in the world, and Merrill Field has been sort of widely said in this area that it's the busiest general aviation airport in the world. I don't know that that's necessarily accurate. I feel like every time I go to validate these things that people talk about around here, I find that they're not that true. That there's a grain of accuracy, but not enough for it to be really confirmed for sure. So we're coming up here. This spit that renders in is real. If you look at the imagery, it's there. These cliffs, I don't know what those look like. They're the imagery in maps that you know, satellite imagery. This is just really dark because it is so steep here. So this is authentic. The textures stink, but this bluff is the real thing. So that's pretty cool. So here's this McNeil Cove, this spit here, and the McNeil River running up this way. The falls are just up here, and we're gonna scope that out. Now what we can't really see, and I'm trying to line us up to actually look at the falls as opposed to the McNeil River campground, which is actually just right here. And I don't know if that comes in the sim. I only flew over this just the one time. Now it might be that they land here and here and then kind of taxi over to here and people get off in this campground here. But you can actually see, go to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game website, and there's this campground has got some maps and stuff. You can actually see what that really looks like in real life if you want. And then the trail kind of cuts across. There's multiple trails actually that take you, depending on tides and so on, over to the falls, which are kind of just off to our right. And I'm gonna, as we get close, maybe tip over so we can see if we can get a better view of it, and then we'll just kind of circle around. There we go. We can see them here. There we go. These are the falls, right up in here. So this here is where you'd expect to see bears standing at the top of the falls, right here. And then you come out here and take pictures while they're catching the salmon, jumping up over this. I'm really happy to see that this was rendered into the sim quite as well as it is. Look at that. That's pretty spectacular, although it looks like there's some springtime stuff going on too, maybe some snow. Wow, that really does look good. Look at that. Could you imagine coming up in here and watching the bears just hang out and catch the salmon? And you know, there's, I mean, when this happens, there's dozens of bears out here, you know, at any given time. And the Brooks Falls, which is a similar kind of scenario, it's further south in Katmai National Park, and that's pretty world renowned. And you can actually go look, if you go look for Brooks Falls Bear Cam, go Google that after this video. And you do it like in the fall time or the summertime, you'll actually see those bears out there hanging out. I just did it 5 minutes before this video. It's early October. Bears aren't quite to bed yet, and they were out there. A bunch of seagulls, which I guess legitimizes the seagulls here, and then also the bears. But that's much further south here. So now here we are, still in McNeil Cove. I still want to see if we can't see some doggone seagulls in here, and I just don't know what the heck they're talking about in the sim. I wish, just for the sake of checking out the sites, that we could figure out where the heck those are. Maybe you gotta land. Maybe you gotta land. Look at this. This is just gorgeous. Again, this is early AM in midsummer, 5 AM, something like this, or 5:30, 6 o'clock. This is so pretty. I love seeing this because this is what it looks like, and kind of this pinkish tinge, and we saw it really brilliantly in the trip over here. That's really legitimate, and it's hard for me to explain what that looks like, and presumably it looks like that elsewhere, but this is where I'm from and what I know, so maybe it's common elsewhere, you see that, but I just think this is spectacular looking at the sunrise from the east there. I guess northeast actually, which maybe is kind of odd. But anyway, that's what I wanted to do today. I just wanted to swing over to McNeil Cove and talk about that bear viewing area and have a look at Mount Augustine volcano. I think it's probably the one and only time we're going to get to get out there. So if you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, hit subscribe. And if you want to know just when it's coming out, make sure that notification bell's lit up. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'm having a great time, and I'll see you in the next video.